The First Row Sports Show. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook.
Once again to the sideline. Batted up. Oh, God! Stokely down the sideline. Can they catch him?
With your hosts Darnell Duff and Brady Lang.
Good evening and welcome to the First Row Sports Show, coming to you on YouTube and don't you forget SoundCloud, and check us out on Facebook, the First Row Sports Show. I'm your host Darnell Duff, joined by Brady Lang. Brady, we got to look back at just about a year ago. Actually, a year ago yesterday was our first ever show on April 19th, and our last show in general was on June 7th. It's crazy to think that a year has passed during that time, and obviously thanks a lot for joining me once again today. And what have you been up to in the last year? I need to know.
Well, it's crazy that it has been a year, but like a lot can change in a year, right? I'm up in North Battlefords, Saskatchewan, of all places, but at the same time, it's home for me now, and I'm enjoying it up here for sure. And we've got to watch a lot of great hockey this year with the Battlefords North Stars. Big shout out, and working for Battlefords now. Also, lots on the web, lots on the radio. It's a day-by-day thing. Loving life.
How could you not love life? Like you said, you're doing what you love. You're working on the radio, writing a lot of stories out in the community. And like you mentioned, those North Stars are the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League champions. They took down the whole league. A thrilling final against the Melfort Mustangs going into the season. Melfort was known and thought to be, they were going to be, strong contenders, and they were. They picked up George King just before the trade deadline, which made them even that much better. But the North Stars, talk to me a little about them. How good is this team actually heading up to their series in the Anavet Cup against the MJHL champions, Portage Terriers?
Well, they're a lot better than people give them credit for. That's the thing. They're just defensively, they're so strong. And that's the biggest thing when you see this team. It's all let out by Joel Grzybowski, obviously. The crease comes first, but at the same time, they got some huge bodies when it comes to the defensive core, and they got some timely scoring. And it's not just one line. It's not just two lines. It's all four lines coming in, and they do a pretty damn good job of it.
Yeah, you talk about Grzybowski. Obviously, in the Anavet Cup playoffs, he went 12-2-2, a .950 save percentage, and a .168 goals against average. Do you think he has enough to sustain it and do the same he did in the SJHL against the Portage Terriers team, who in the regular season scored 277 goals, first in the MJHL, plus 127 ratio? They only gave up 150 goals. Do you think Grzybowski has what it takes to shut down a very potent Portage offense in Game 1 at Stride Place?
I don't see why not, right? He did it all through the playoffs, and no one really expected him to be that good. And the nice part is the kid's, he's local. He's from Hafford, which is just a few kilometers. It would be about east from here, but, you have to take a couple grid roads because it's Saskatchewan. But at the same time, no one really realized how good he actually was until it came to the playoffs, right? So, and the big thing with him is he actually gets help from his defense. There's no reason why he can't continue to succeed. There's no reason why he can't continue to just be that great goaltender that we've figured him out to be. And he has a Anavet Cup already. Of course, he was a rookie at that time, a couple of years ago. But at the same time, that's experience. And when it comes to the playoffs, experience is important. And especially when you have it between the pipes. It's not that he's been here before, but he's been around here before. So it's very important when it comes to this time of the season. And you know what? Who says Grzybowski shouldn't be able to do this?
Yeah, obviously you're referring to 2 years ago when obviously Battlefords won the SJHL. Back then it was actually the Western Canada Cup, the WCC, for about 5 years. They went 1-0-2-1 in that tournament, and they actually lost to the Terriers in their round robin game 5-3, but they had more points than the Terriers, so they went on to the semifinal there when they lost to the Penticton Vs 4-0. But then you got to look at the Portage Terriers, how good this team is. Pretty much rolled through the postseason. The first two rounds were dominating performances. And then in the league final, they took on the Swan Valley Stampeders. Guys like, I'm sure you know, Brad Gothels, obviously a former WHLer with the Saskatoon Blades, Josh Tripp, Matt Osadik. They ended up winning Game 6 at the Centennial Arena. The Terriers were down 2-1 with under 10 minutes left. They scored 4 goals in a 7-minute span, and then they ended up winning in overtime in Game 7. They actually gave up the tying goal there with just 7 seconds left in the game when Matthew Osadek scored. This really should be a heavyweight tilt between a perennial powerhouse in the Portage Terriers and the Battlefords North Stars. Like the last championship they had before the one they had, obviously this one and 2 years ago, was back in the Member Care Cup days back in 2000. So a lot of years between championships, but this organization seems to have really turned it around in the last few years. It must be for yourself pretty cool to live in a place where obviously a tight-knit community and a very, very strong hockey team. Talk to me about the buzz around the community right now.
Well, it's all North Stars all the time up here. The big thing that you see is that this area just absolutely loves hockey. They love their puck. And that's the thing. It feeds off the community, right? I'm not going to lie. North Battleford had a tough few years. We've been infamously named Crime Town from our crime severity index, and we're a lot more than that here. When it comes down to it, hockey is a great way, a great outlet. It gives the community something to rally behind, and that's exactly what the Battlefords North Stars have been able to do this year. A lot of people are saying it's a Cinderella story. I don't think it is. Like, they were a rebuilding team, but at the same time, they got hot. They came together at the right time, and they've been sneaky good all year, and they're hanging around, right? They can beat those teams. They can beat any team on any given night. And when it comes down to it, like, the Bombers gave them a hell of a ride in the first series. That was insane. I was able to sit down and watch that triple overtime game that I was literally...
Did you fall asleep almost?
No, but the kids were sleeping in the stands, which was really interesting to see, because it was like, maybe you should take them home, but at the same time, they're already sleeping, so why would you want to wake them up, right? But that series was fun from beginning to end, and then you look over and they play the Yorkton Terriers, who a lot of people didn't think would be there. Terriers have a really good offense, but the North Stars did it again. They shut them down.
Now let's talk about that series though a little bit. Yorkton, obviously, they upset the Nipawin Hawks, who finished first place in the entire league, 1 point ahead of the North Stars in the regular season. And then all of a sudden, the script, like, Yorkton takes a 3-1 lead on Nipawin. Nipawin wins 2 straight, and you're thinking, going back to Game 7 at the cage, like, this is a guaranteed win for the Hawks. That was almost a blessing for the North Stars, I think, the fact that Yorkton did knock off the Hawks, because let's face it, I know the North Stars are very good, but it's definitely a favorable matchup if you're taking on the Terriers over the Nipawin Hawks, the former SJHL champions.
Yeah, but at the same time, Yorkton beat Nipawin, right? You sit and you look at it from the other side, and the playoffs weren't determined until the final night of the regular season. And when it comes down to that, you can just see how good the league is overall, and it's all about outlasting, it's all about that depth, and it's all about getting that timely goaltending. So yes, Nipawin was a great hockey team. I'm not saying they're not, but at the same time, Yorkton deserved to win. They pushed them to 7 games. There was no reason they shouldn't have been there, but when it came down to it, both teams had just come off their 7th game, exact same night. I remember sitting in the booth listening to the Terriers game, trying to figure out who were playing in the second round. But at the same time, it is what it is, right? It's the game of hockey. Like, I don't think we really realized that this second round was going to look like this in the NHL. So you really have to prepare for the unexpected when it comes to the playoffs. And you know what? The last game of the regular season, if the Stars would not have won the game that they did, they would have been playing Melfort in the first round. Instead, they played them in the finals, and we all know how that ended up. So they say curling's a game of inches. Of course it is, but at the same time, hockey is too.
So then you look at the Portage Terriers. All the good about the Stars. The Terriers, they have 3 Anavet Cup titles. They won in 2011 and 2005, then way back. They have 4 MJHL title championships in their last 5 years, and they won the Nationals back in 2015. They went 12-3 in the playoffs this year, 7-1 on home ice. They're starting the postseason, or the Anavet Cup rather, tomorrow at Stride Place. Who do you think is favored in this series? I know you want to say Battlefords because obviously you're from there. Haven't really had the chance to see a whole lot of Terriers this season. But just statistically speaking, who do you think is favored in this series?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I haven't been able to see Portage play. I'm sure they're a great hockey team. They came out of the MJ. I was able to see Swan, and they beat Swan in a 7-game series. But at the same time, like, the North Stars, like, you can't bet against them because people have been betting against them all year. And you know what? They probably love it. So if I were to pick the North Stars, everyone would be like, oh, he's being a homer. If I were to pick Portage, people would be like, well, that's more fuel to the fire for the Stars. So honestly, it's going to be a toss-up, but I have to go with the North Stars. They're doing the impossible right now, and as long as Grzyzbowski can continue up to playing the way he is, and there's no signs of him declining, they should win.
Nathan Moore, the goaltender for the Portage Terriers, only played 3 games in the playoffs. He's 3-0, a bad .876 save percentage, a 3 goals against average. Now you're thinking, oh, that's terrible. This team isn't good goaltending-wise. They have a very capable backup in Ethan Peterson, but Nathan Moore did get the start in Game 6 and 7. He locked down the Stamps in Game 6. He locked down the Stamps in Game 7. Now Joel Grzyzbowski, obviously absolutely superb statistics in the postseason so far, 12-2-2. I'm not even going to offer right now who I think is going to win this series. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I'm not a fan of this 2-3-2 format. I understand it's for travel purposes, but I'm not a fan of the 2-3 format myself. But I think it's definitely going to go down to the wire. And this series, 100%, I'm sure, is coming back to Portage for Game 6. And if it happens, Game 7 is also going in Portage as well. So I don't want to say Portage is going to win. I don't want to say Battlefords is going to win, but I can guarantee you this series is at least going 6 games with how these two teams are playing in the postseason so far.
Well, sir, the rodeo is in town, and you know what? That's why the MJ has this home ice advantage.
The rodeo, it's hockey season, man. It's hockey season. We're not talking rodeo yet. I understand there's a rodeo.
We are talking rodeo.
But the biggest thing right now going on is hockey. And
is it though? Yeah, it is. It is. But
absolutely.
At the same time, you know what? I think we all kind of predicted a 7-game series when it came down to it for the actual SJ Championship, the Anavet Cup. And we didn't get a 7-game series because the Battlefords basically told them, no, you're not going to score. Carson Albrecht, he was a non-factor.
Yeah, and the guy's going to North Dakota next year to play for the Fighting Hawks. And like you said, he was pretty much tranquilized out there. Like he was a non-factor really the whole series. And George King, I know he didn't play a whole lot down the stretch with some injuries and that sort of thing. But when he played, he was a non-factor as well. Like those guys, top guys who just did not come out to play. And the Terriers, they got a lot of guys who can play, including Chase Brakel, who started the season with Cornell University, NCAA Division I. Like, I think you got the best of both worlds. You got some goaltending, you got some good offense, you got good defense. This should be a slugfest, and it's going to be, I assume you're going to check out all 3 games in Battlefords?
It all depends on the schedule at this point. Haven't looked that far ahead, but at the same time, that is the plan. This weekend, I'm in Saskatoon covering the Humpties Champions Cup. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to try and listen to as much of the game on 1050 CJNB with Marty Martinson. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting, and we'll see how it goes down. Obviously, we did have to give up our home ice advantage, which sucks, but at the same time...
You can get that home ice advantage back by splitting the first 2 games.
Exactly. That's 1 win. That's a Game 1 win. That's a Game 2 win. It is what it is, and... You know what? If the North Stars just keep playing like they are, it's like, and the nice part is they got a lot of rest. And I think that's exactly what this team needed was rest. And really, when it comes down to it, that's what they got. And, you know, they were banged up a little bit. Obviously, when you play overtime to the extent that they did, extra games, it was like something like 10 games in 7 when it came down to it. You did the math and everything, that triple overtime game. So really... Realistically, the Stars are ready to go. Portage, not as rested, so we'll see what happens, but it'll be a good one.
The Anavet Cup champion, it's number 1 in the MJHL, the Portage Terriers. Number 2 in the regular season, the Battlefords North Stars. They took down the SJHL championship by beating the Melfort Mustangs in 6 games. We're taking a break. We're coming back with some NHL postseason action. Brady loves those Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs do not love making the second round. That's coming up right after this. You're listening to the First Row Sports Show.